Where do you think you are? Who do you think you're talking to? Nobody gets out of my domain, whether alive or dead.
Welcome to Mojo Plays, and there's nothing more we love than sitting down for some well-deserved alone time with some of our favorite single-player games of the last 10 years.
In fact, we don't have to do this at all if you don't want to.
We definitely want to!
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Alan Wake 2.
First things first. What's your name?
It's not often that a cult classic manages to get a sequel, let alone one that manages to outperform the original in every way imaginable. 13 years after the release of Alan Wake, Alan finally escaped the dark place, and somehow his nightmare has only gotten more horrific. Alan Wake 2 is by far the most ambitious title from Remedy and the mad lad Sam Lake. Featuring two protagonists players can switch between, playing each of their respective campaigns in whatever order they wish. This not only expands the scope of Bright Falls and the surrounding areas, but also allows players to experience Alan's numerous escape attempts from the dark place from his perspective. Combined with one of the greatest uses of music in all of gaming and an unrelentingly oppressive atmosphere filled with constant tension, Alan Wake is one of the greatest horror games we've played in years and absolutely worth the decade-long wait.
This story is a monster.
Hollow Knight. Metroidvanias have become one of the most popular genres in all of gaming outside of the recent influx of Souls-likes. And while the genre's namesakes, Metroid and Castlevania, laid the groundwork, Hollow Knight perfected the formula. Hollow Knight managed to bring all the elements of not only Metroidvanias, but also classic old-school platforming with challenging combat encounters and rewarding exploration. The music, art style, and wonderful use of environmental storytelling showcase a once vibrant world that has since fallen and the titular knight's quest to rid it of its infection. Despite coming from a relatively small and unknown team, Hollow Knight quickly became one of the most highly respected games in the genre, and its long-awaited follow-up Silksong has become one of the most anticipated titles of the generation. Hades. The roguelike genre is almost as old as gaming itself, and is one that has experienced very little innovation since its inception. However, Supergiant Games not only managed to craft one of the best roguelikes of all time, but also completely revolutionized the genre itself. By incorporating the cycle of live, die, repeat into the narrative, players were no longer punished by death, but rewarded with vital character and narrative moments, encouraging them to attempt just one more run to discover the next tidbit of the story to fill out the game's fascinating world. The addition of boons, which offered vital gameplay tweaks, also offered players a way to customize each run, and these decisions could also affect your relationships with the numerous gods offering aid. Beautifully animated and meticulously detailed with some of the most rewarding gameplay in the genre, Hades is not to be missed even by those who've never played a roguelike.
Fine. Then go. Get out. Don't let me stop you.
Wasn't planning on it, Father.
Super Mario Odyssey. Nintendo and Mario have always been the undisputed kings of the platforming genre, and Mario's most recent solo outing Odyssey might be one of the plumber's best of all time. Using Mario's cap as not only a weapon, but also a gameplay mechanic by giving players the ability to capture enemies and objects allowed for player experimentation in a way the series never had before. Nintendo also made tweaks to the traditional Mario formula with inventive level designs and new abilities, as well as costumes for Mario to unlock. With multiple worlds to explore, secrets to find, and a wealth of challenges to complete, Super Mario Odyssey isn't just the best 3D Mario game of all time, it's also a celebration of Mario's legacy and his genre-defining impact on the industry. Disco Elysium.
Precinct 57 sent their finest. Precinct 41 sent you.
The term role-playing game has never been a more apt description than when used to describe Disco Elysium. Players are given almost complete freedom to mold their character to their preferred specifications more acutely than any other role-playing game to date. Taking place in a forgotten city, The player character must investigate a grisly murder as well as their own personal demons that narrate their every action and decision. The entire game is built around a series of skill checks, dice rolls, and dialogue trees in which the player's actions directly affect not only the narrative, but how the many unique and just as insane townsfolk perceive you and respond to your antics. With a gorgeous painted art style, the interwoven open world is full of interesting characters and sets a new bar for how much freedom developers allow their players to have within their worlds.
Prove them wrong, or lose your mind.
Uncharted 4: A Thief's End.
Look, Nate, I'm gonna make you a one-time offer. Drop everything. Go home. Live your life. Or we can just end it right here.
It's not often we get to see our favorite video game protagonists get a proper send-off, let alone the happy ending we've always wanted for them. For Nathan Drake's final outing as everyone's favorite wisecracking dude raider, Naughty Dog gave us not only his most personal journey so far, but also his most epic. Naughty Dog had already perfected the Uncharted formula, so this time they instead focused on putting Nathan in some of the most technically impressive and death-defying moments of his career in some of the most visually spectacular locations in the entire series. The cinematic presentation added additional depth to the already beloved characters, and the inclusion of new gameplay mechanics such as the grappling hook expanded not only Nathan's exploration skills, but also his combat options. Uncharted 4 further deviated from previous entries by forcing Nathan to re-examine his priorities and face the consequences of his luck finally running out.
Nathan Drake, that two-bit thief. Risking it all for some piece of treasure. I guess that's how they know me. How they'll remember me.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Where the trail leads, I will go.
Sony has had no shortage of inventive and interesting IPs over the years, but most of these titles fell into a familiar formula. Guerrilla Games' Horizon Zero Dawn not only broke this tradition, but also gave fans a brand new heroine to stand alongside the likes of industry icons like Lara Croft. The world of Horizon Zero Dawn and Aloy's journey through an overgrown apocalyptic land battling robot dinosaurs is immediately engaging, and the story and mystery surrounding the world and its inhabitants drive players forward to uncover more. Combat was also more intuitive, allowing players to target specific body parts while also utilizing a myriad of gadgets to accent their encounters and keep every battle feeling fresh and consistently thrilling. While numerous aspects would be improved upon in the sequel, Zero Dawn remains a standout for its innovative gameplay and engrossing world to explore.
What is it?
The end. Or how it begins, anyway.
Persona 5.
Do me a favor and behave yourself, alright?
Turn-based RPGs might not be as popular as they once were, but if they could all be as insanely stylish as Persona 5, we think perceptions might change. Absolutely oozing with personality, Persona feels like a slice-of-life anime come to life, complete with players needing to attend classes, maintain healthy or, depending on your choices, unhealthy relationships, and even find a job to make money. And then there's the completely off-the-wall supernatural side, in which all the aforementioned battles take place with some of the most diverse and insane character designs in the genre. Full of memorable characters, an incredibly designed world for players to live their day-to-day lives, frenetic battles, a deep and engaging narrative, and an absolutely gorgeous art direction, Persona 5 is a once-in-a-lifetime game, only enhanced by its own re-release, which somehow managed to add even more incredible content.
But if my voice is reaching you, I beg you, please overcome this game and save the world.
The Last of Us Part 2.
I'm gonna find, and I'm gonna kill every last one of them.
The Last of Us remains a masterpiece in interactive narrative storytelling, and one that many fans felt told a complete story with no need for a sequel. However, no matter what your viewpoint is on the necessity of Part 2's existence, the game remains unchallenged as a mechanical and cinematic benchmark. The new characters and locations were wonderfully realized, full of impressive detail that made the world and its inhabitants feel like real people trying to survive the end of the world. There's no denying the narrative split the fanbase, but the performances of everyone involved remain some of the best in the entire industry. Simple gameplay tweaks opened combat and exploration opportunities for giving players even more freedom during encounters than ever before. Part 2 might have originally seemed like an unnecessary follow-up to a masterpiece, but it's one that has thankfully experienced a re-evaluation in the years since.
What the hell are you doing here?
You think I'd let you do this on your own?
Cyberpunk 2077.
Wake up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
There's no denying Cyberpunk 2077 had what can graciously be described as a rocky launch. Thankfully, CD Projekt Red stuck with it and not only delivered the initial promised experience, but managed to give players more than they ever could have expected. The world of Night City feels more real and alive than any other open world game to date, and the addition of Keanu Reeves as Johnny Silverhand only sweetened the deal. Boasting a wealth of options for players to completely customize their playstyle and experience, it's easy to get lost in the world of Cyberpunk simply driving around the city and living in the atmosphere. With the release of Phantom Liberty, the game was completely overhauled to such an extent the developers even suggested that those who completed the game start a new playthrough to replay the game as the devs fully intended.
Listen, kid. If there's one thing I can tell you about this city, you either love it or want to burn it.
Marvel's Spider-Man.
Wait, you?
While there's been no shortage of Spider-Man games since the inception of gaming, only a handful have truly nailed the feeling of being Spider-Man the way Insomniac's 2018 entry did. Allowing players to take up the web shooters of Spider-Man in his prime, not only did this let us step into the spandex of a Peter who was already a fully fledged hero, Insomniac's implementation of Spidey's combat moves, web swinging, and comic-accurate movements perfected the sensation of zipping between the Big Apple's skyscrapers. This decision also let the developers skip over all of Spidey's well-documented history even a casual fan was familiar with and build new relationships and antagonists in their own way, delivering one of the best experiences as Spider-Man and one of his most emotionally charged adventures in his long history of video games.
Spider-Man, look, next time, leave the fighting to the pros. Okay, but what if there aren't any around? Good one.
The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt.
What are you doing?
Killing monsters.
The Witcher series has steadily been growing in quality between releases, but it was the third entry that not only put CD Projekt Red on everyone's radar in a big way, but also made The Witcher a genre-defining title. With an impressive cast of both main and supporting characters, the world of The Witcher came to life, and everything from the narrative to the impressive attention to detail in the immersive world and setting made Geralt's latest adventure a must-play for any RPG fan or anyone with a casual interest. The entire world was designed with player exploration in mind, with countless secrets and hidden quests and interesting NPCs all making the world feel truly alive, thanks to gorgeous graphics and world design. Along with multiple expansions, The Witcher 3 is not only one of the best games of all time, but also one of the best deals in all of gaming.
Geralt, have some dignity. You know how this will end.
Final Fantasy 16.
No matter how bitter the truth that awaits me, I will press on.
The Final Fantasy franchise is one of the oldest in the industry, and yet somehow each new title is an event, telling a new story and offering new ways to play the classic series. Final Fantasy XVI offered players some of the biggest changes yet, focusing on one protagonist and taking a far more action-oriented approach to combat. The action-heavy combat offered newcomers an entry point for the franchise, and despite the typical RPG elements the series is known for being somewhat dumbed down, still offered players a variety of options in combat to cater to their playstyle. And quite honestly, it worked. Clive struggles to survive the dying world of Valisthea, corrupted by the backroom political machinations of the numerous kingdoms, alongside his deep personal connections to the icons, is consistently engrossing. Clive is one of the series' best protagonists in years, thanks in no small part to Ben Starr giving his absolute all in his performance.
I thought I was ready for this.
I know, but we will face it together.
Astrobot. You don't always need to reinvent the game to be one of the best in the genre. As the follow-up to one of the best games already on the PS5, Astro's Playroom, Team Asobi managed to create a bigger, grander, and more challenging platformer while maintaining everything that made the original such a delight. It's almost impossible to play Astrobot without a sense of childish glee watching Astro interact with countless bot versions of iconic PlayStation characters, while also making the best use of the DualSense controller in the entire industry. A love letter to all things Sony and PlayStation, the game is entirely enjoyable for those just looking for a solid platformer, but for those who have been playing games for decades, Astrobot is a time capsule of our childhood memories we'd long forgotten. We really can't recommend this one enough. Do yourself a favor and join Astro in a trip down memory lane. Elden Ring.
That which commanded the stars, giving life its fullest brilliance.
FromSoft has become a juggernaut in the gaming industry, and one of the most influential developers in history with their tough but fair Souls formula. With numerous entries in the genre and endless copycats, FromSoft once again set the bar for their own genre with Elden Ring. Giving players a fully open world to explore and discover at their own leisure not only offered newcomers an easier jumping on point, but also gave longtime Souls fans a wealth of hidden secrets and lore to find and piece together. The lands between have been purposely designed and crafted to reward those who go off the beaten path with new armor and weapon sets, and harken back to the genre's golden days of discovery when games didn't hold the player's hand with countless markers and objectives. Elden Ring is a landmark and genre-defining title that everyone owes to themselves to try out at least once.
Make of thyself that which ye desire. Be it a lord, be it a god.
The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Wake up, Link.
Nintendo have always been pioneers in innovative video game mechanics, and the Legend of Zelda series is usually at the forefront of these improvements. While no one was complaining about the current slate of the Zelda franchise, Nintendo not only completely rewrote their own playbook with Breath of the Wild, but also revolutionized the open world genre. Setting players loose in a devastated Hyrule, we were given free rein to explore and play the game however we wanted, and the game's impressive physics allowed for creativity and experimentation. This approach to open world game design also allowed players to find their own solutions for the game's puzzles and combat encounters, while still managing to offer longtime fans the truest form of the Legend of Zelda experience in the franchise's history.
May I ask, do you really remember me?
Baldurs Gate 3.
You want to play the hero so badly? Fine. Let's make this interesting.
Video games, by design, allow players to choose how they want to play, but few games, if any, have ever offered the wealth of options Larian Studios has with Baldur's Gate 3. Along with the traditional RPG trappings, Baldur's Gate 3 captures the true feeling of the Dungeons & Dragons formula in a way no game within the genre has done before. For every action, no matter how outlandish, there is a reaction, and the world and characters will react to the player's choices. Alongside some incredibly well-written characters, and by far one of the deepest character creators ever, Baldur's Gate 3 offers players the chance to fully and completely live out their wildest D&D adventures in whatever way they can imagine. With over 17,000 possible variations of the game's ending, Baldur's Gate 3 might be the only game you ever need to play again.
Bow before me. Bow before the absolute. Bow!
Ghost of Tsushima.
You trained your whole life for this.
The open world genre has seen very little innovation in recent years, with most devs falling victim to the dreaded Ubisoft formula. But Sucker Punch managed to not only create one of the best open world games in generations, but also add much needed improvements to the stale formula. The tale of Jin Sakai becoming the ghost to defeat the invading Mongols is impeccably told, perfectly encapsulating Jin's struggle for his honor versus his quest to protect and save his people. With an absolutely jaw-dropping open world for players to explore, highly engaging swordplay, brand new genre-defining mechanics, The Guiding Wind might be the best open world innovation in forever, a brilliant cast of supporting characters, as well as a protagonist and narrative players can become emotionally invested in, Tsushima's follow-up, Ghost of Yotai, has a high bar to reach.
So I'll ask you once again, Samurai. Do you surrender?
God of War 2018.
Where must we go?
To a realm beyond your own.
Kratos was already a PlayStation icon, having carved out his niche in the action genre, literally, over the entirety of the Greek saga. But with God of War 2018, we were introduced to a more introspective Kratos, regretful of the brash and arrogant Spartan he used to be. The addition of his son Atreus, whom Kratos attempts to steer from making the same mistakes of his past, was not only a brilliant plot development, but also allowed Kratos to grow as a character alongside his son. The over-the-shoulder perspective and the inclusion of the Leviathan axe gave combat a much more visceral feel, and the Metroidvania-style exploration of the Lake of Nine kept the familiar location constantly engaging as new areas were revealed. Taking Kratos out of Greece made a lot of sense, and the evolution of Kratos as a character delivered a balanced experience for newcomers and an emotional journey for longtime fans.
Oh, that was something, that fight.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
They'll probably hang you, buddy.
You coming, buddy?
Every developer wants you to live and breathe its atmosphere, and truly believe you exist within the game world. No developer has accomplished this better than Rockstar did with Red Dead Redemption 2. Not only did the game tell one of the most emotional, grounded, and believable narratives all set against the dying of the Wild West, but managed to develop characters players cared about and became emotionally attached to. Every detail is immaculately created, from the period-accurate guns and attire to the horse testicles. The entire open world feels like a real place where many players just live a second life, hunting, camping, fishing, and either helping or robbing the many small towns and their residents. Arthur Morgan remains one of the best characters ever written, both in and outside of video games, and there may never be an experience like Red Dead 2 ever again, even by Rockstar themselves.
You have my back. Always, Dutch.
Did we miss your favorite single-player experience of the last decade? Share your picks in the comments. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips for Mojo Plays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.